Coach, have you been, I guess, pleased with the effort of the offensive line in terms of the run blocking? Is that an area of focus over this next week or two? I'm sure it's always an area of focus, but has it maybe been disappointing this year?
I mean, I think that we've had really good plays, and we've had some other plays that we wish we had back, and that's what we're going out, going through not only last week's game, but the whole season during the bye week and going through and assessing all that. Like I said before, you have to do a good job of assessing whether it's execution, personnel, or scheme, and so we're kind of knee deep in that right now, and had a great practice yesterday. So that's the job of a coach, is to get the things that we need to get fixed. You got to get them fixed and addressed. So we're in the process of that now.
Third row left, Colin.
What have you seen over the past couple of weeks of just how J.K. Dobbins is carrying himself, and just based on maybe not having as much success as he has had?
Yeah, I think J.K. is such a great kid, and his work ethic and such his his values and everything. Can't say enough about and Mike and the way they've gone about their work, and they're not really getting as many carries as they like, and having so far the year that they would like to have had. But a lot of that has to do with kind of the way we're made up this year in our personnel. But moving forward, we want that type of production, and we're going to spend this week and keep moving forward, throughout the rest of the season, trying to make sure we put those guys in a situation to do that. But he's had his impact in other areas too, in the pass game and screens and throwing the ball. So can't say enough about him as a person.
Second row middle, Marcus.
Where are you in terms of just trying to figure out what your bread and butter is in the running game? I think you guys have tried a lot of different things, but Coach Wilson said a week or so ago maybe you needed to find a couple of consistent things. Kind of where are you in that process?
Yeah, I think that the RPOs have been excellent for us, and some of the reliefs that we've done have been really, really good. I think last week you saw us in the red zone. We needed to do it. We didn't quite do it, and so spending our time getting that fixed. But to your point, I think that finding the right ones that we can hang our hat on is still a work in progress.
Is there something to where maybe even just more reps would help you out with the line working better together, the backs kind of getting everything timed up? I mean, have you struggled just with fewer reps? Does that help you back too?
No, I don't think so. No.
Third row left, Dan.
Ryan, have you guys had to look at changing, maybe adding some new running plays at all during this off week because of some of the plays that haven't worked, and specifically maybe away from the read options or quarterback run kind of plays?
I think you always, at this time, you look at your tendencies, you look at what you've done, and then what's on film. But then also, again, a good coach can identify whether it's execution, it's scheme, or personnel. And so, if you make a mistake in that area, then all of a sudden you're trying to fix something that doesn't need to be fixed, and figure out where the real problems are. And so we're in the process of that right now, and sorting through all that. But I think it's a little bit in all areas. I think there's some plays where we can do a better job schematically. Other areas we can do a better job executing. A little bit here, a little bit there.
Specifically in the red zone, you guys obviously didn't have success you wanted on Saturday. What do you think are the things you guys need to do better in that area of the field to finish drives and touchdowns?
Yeah, we got to execute. We missed a couple passes that we've hit, and we went and watched the film with the guys and showed them during the season, pass plays that were similar that we threw and caught with touchdowns. And when you do that, then maybe you're not in the situation you're at. But also being able to, when we need to pound and make 3 yards, we got to be able to make 3 yards down there. So those are the areas we're spending time on.
Third row right, Taylor.
Coach, I know we've talked and we've asked you about this in the past few weeks about could we see packages for Tate Martell maybe in the red zone or short yardage, but after seeing, especially on Saturday, the lack of success in the red zone, have you thought really hard maybe these last few days about bringing him in just to add that quarterback run threat in short yardage situations?
Yeah, we balance it with personnel. That's one of the other things, again, part of identifying what the problem is what do we change our personnel? And so we're constantly looking at that. Sometimes when you make those personnel changes, you can slow down the flow of the game, but if it's given us a better opportunity, then we need to really look hard into that. And so we're looking into that.
I just remember, I know you weren't here back in 2015, but they kind of did that with Cardale Jones. It seems like in the mid-season they brought in JT to kind of get things going, and it seemed to work. I didn't know if you guys had kind of looked at that scenario maybe.
We have, yeah, and we've gone back and watched film of some of the stuff that they've done in the past when Cardale was in there, when JT was in there. So yeah, so all those discussions are happening.
Front row left, Doug?
Is Brandon Bowen to the point where he could play in a game, and are there possible changes on the offensive line?
He's not ready to play yet, no. He is gonna be practicing this week, but not quite there yet, but he's coming along, and making some good progress, but not quite ready to play yet.
And so if not him, is there anybody else? Could we see Josh Myers or Brady Taylor or Wyatt Davis? Is there anybody else we can see?
The thing that's good about the bye week is those guys can all practice and get meaningful reps right now. And so I thought some of those guys had really good days of practice yesterday. And so the more, those guys can get on the field this week and then, take a look at it at the end of the week and kind of assess it from there. But, I don't think that the plan right now is to look to move anybody at this point. But the competition's always there. And if those guys are playing better, then we're going to consider it.
Are the RPOs screwing up the line? Studs seemed to indicate last week that maybe there's something with the offensive line of them not feeling like they don't know how they're blocking on a certain play.
The thing about the RPO is if there's a seventh guy in the box, then the quarterback, whoever you're reading, you're throwing it. So I think what happens a little bit is that's part of the run. And so if you're throwing the ball for a gain of 6, it doesn't show up in the run stats. And I think that's, sometimes when you look back in, the history of football and, handing the ball off in the eye to a power at 6 yards, that went to the running stats. Well, now when the RPOs happen and you're throwing the ball, that just needs to go towards the running. If it was a called run play and they put an extra guy in the box and you threw it out there, that's part of that running play. Now it may not show up in the stats as a run, but we look at all that. So although it may not show up in the running stats, like for instance, when we run a speed sweep and we toss it to the receiver, that goes into the passing stats, but that's really a run. So sometimes it can be a little misleading for those guys, and I think maybe they get a little frustrated, but that's more how it works.
But do you think just in the mentally and emotionally, and you see it in football, like sometimes you just, and you guys have done it at times, where you just have a drive where you just run it 10 out of 11 times, you just tee off and let the line dominate people. How many run calls per game are you giving the offensive line just a chance to tee off and physically impose their will on somebody, and do you maybe need to do that more? Could that be something mentally for them to get a rhythm in the run game if you did it more?
I think that every play, they should be imposing their will on the other team. So if you're calling a run play, it doesn't matter what the scheme is, you should have that mentality anyways. But to your point, I think that when you have a run play where the ball is going to end up in the tailback's hands, there might be a little bit of a different mentality there. And again, that's all stuff that we're looking at.
Do you think they have done it? If you think every play they should be able to impose their will, have they this year enough?
I think that's what we're looking at. And we're evaluating all of that right now. And again, it's all areas. If we run the ball and it bounces out to the perimeter and maybe one of the receivers doesn't finish their block where it could go for a big play. I know there was one play where we tossed it outside and it was really well blocked and one of the DBs came off and made a play. So just like in the passing game, when people want to know why the passing game maybe isn't working, it's the protection, it's the routes, it's all that. Well, it's the same thing in the run game. The quarterback's involved in making sure we get to the right play and reading the right guy. The guys up front got to block, and then the guys in the perimeter got to do the same thing as well. So everybody's involved in it, and we all got to get it fixed.
Right next door, Bill?
Ryan, I don't think you guys used 2 tight ends at all in the red zone against Purdue. I'm just wondering, as you're looking at things to maybe tweak a little bit, what your confidence level is and even your ability to get like a heavier package on the field, whether that's 2 tight ends, another back, or even a 6th offensive lineman. I know some teams do that.
Yeah, and that's we're looking at all those things, and it's a good point. You get a bigger surface over there, and maybe the extra hat, comes in from a little bit further away. Running Dwayne down there really is as much of an option as it used to be, with JT. So again, really uncovering everything, whether it's the quarterback run, with someone like Tate coming in the game, wildcat packages, different personnels, all those things that we're evaluating right now.
And with Dwayne, I think everybody knows the skill sets are vastly different between he and JT and even between he and Tate. Is there anything with Dwayne that maybe he just needs to be a little more willing to run it sometimes and put his head down and get a couple of yards for you guys?
I think if we ask him to, like, the TCU game, he pulled it down and ran and did a nice job there, and maybe we will ask him to do a little bit more. But we don't think that that's his specialty. I think it's more throwing. But when you're in that role and you have an opportunity to throw it and make a play with your arm, you got to make it. So, it comes in different shapes and sizes, but at the end of the day, you got to do your job.
Well, and last 2 questioners, second row right, Tony?
Austin Mack being out, what's the plan now at X with Ben Victor and behind him?
Yeah, so Ben's gonna step up, and he's gonna now, mature into a role where he's gonna be the starter over there. But we also have a lot of depth there, a lot of, older guys, and, Terry McLaurin and Paris Campbell, and a lot of guys, Johnny, who can go over and play there as well. And then Jalen Harris is a young guy that's gonna have to step up as well, and when his number gets called, he's gotta be ready. But good news is we got some older guys that know the system really, really well, and so we can move some guys around if we need to.
Is this an opportunity then also for Jalen Harris to get more reps than he's got in terms of practice
For
he's
sure.
gotten all year?
Yes.
And final questions, Tim?
Yeah, no, we'll follow up on that. Has Ben Victor capable, in your mind, of stepping up and being
He's shown
not every down back? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Every down
he's
receiver.
definitely shown the ability to, and he's
Yeah.
shown flashes, and this year he's really shown in big spots. But in terms of the consistency, that's something he's going to have to show if he wants to be a starter for the rest of the season.
Yeah. Following up what a couple other guys asked, but with Dwayne not being what I'd call a legitimate run threat or a threat that seems to be worrying people, how much are you seeing defenses just gang up on the running back aspect of things? If you follow my drift there,
Yeah.
right? Because it seems to me the big problem, y'all aren't getting them to the second level, unfettered, so to speak.
Yeah.
But
I think that when you have a little more of a threat at quarterback, then you equate the numbers in a box, and so that you have one extra guy, and so they're always loading up the box in a run game, no matter what level you're at, what offense you're in, they're going to load up to stop the run. But when you don't have as much of a threat at quarterback, then sometimes the numbers work against you. But then that opens up the pass, and so when it's time to call the pass, and they put the guys in there, and we throw and catch the ball, and we look like $100. You know what I mean? But
yeah.
when it doesn't go well, then all of a sudden now, we're trying to figure out how we're going to run the ball in the red zone, and so it goes hand in hand. We got to be able to throw the ball better, and we got to be able to run the ball better.
But this what's funny about this whole conundrum is there's never been an Ohio State team throw the ball better than this team has, at least through the first 8 games. I mean, and it's prolifically and everything else, yet the defense still seems to be able to gang up and stop the run. Is that, or y'all, you would think it'd been spread out by now. Are y'all pulling your hair out a little bit because of that? Or?
No, because I think that, we sat in here and met as an offense. We talked about how we're one of the most explosive offenses in all college football, and that, statistically, we're one of the most productive. But now we got to figure out how we're going to win in situational football. We've got to do a better job in that area, because if we can solve that, then we're really where we want to be. And I don't, when we come in here and meet as an offense, we don't want the guys to lose that, because we've done a lot of good things and scored a lot of points and gained a lot of yards. But when it comes down in there, we got to get those problems solved.
A lot of people say the foibles of relying on a passing game is what maybe you saw Saturday was he threw 73 passes, completed 47 for more yards than anybody in history, yet there were 3 plays that clearly could have been thrown up, made a beat earlier, things like that to change everything, right? I mean, does that play into what Woody Hayes used to say?
Well,
No.
I think that's a part of it. That's a part of it, and so when we're not saying that we're just a throwing team, and so we have to be able to throw the football, but we also got to be able to run the ball, and so that's a big part of it. But in those spots, if we connect on those throws, then we score some touchdowns, and maybe it's a different outcome. So a little bit here, a little bit there.
Can I just-
Coach, thank you very much.
We ask a million questions, what's wrong, right? We do the same thing to Greg. Just like your overall mood right now about this offense. Do you feel pretty good if we
Just
fix 1 or 2
frustrated.
things, we're
Yeah,
good?
Just frustrated that we've done so many good things, yet didn't quite have a lot to show for it the other night, and that we have to play better situationally. Because to your point, we've done so many good things, and we got a lot of good players on offense, and we have to just make sure that we're executing better in the red zone, and then we need to run the ball. We got to be able to run the ball.
Great. Coach, thank you very much.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan.